All right, Ethan back for another review, and tonight I'm going to be reviewing with my reviewing partner, my brother, Jim Beam Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. 40% alcohol, 80 proof. It is brewed, I have a cheat sheet, some notes. It is brewed, in Frankfurt, Kentucky, since 1795. 15 years actually after the state was first founded. Bourbon, to qualify as bourbon, it has to be aged at least 2 years. Jim Beam is actually aged 4 years in charred white oak barrels, which makes for a richer flavor and deeper color as opposed to toasted or used barrel aging, which they do for some whiskeys. And something interesting I read about bourbons is all bourbon is whiskey, but not all whiskey can be called bourbon, because a bourbon, if it has any additive other than water, it can't be considered a bourbon. Like if it has caramel color or food coloring in it, it's just a whiskey. So this doesn't have any of that. It would just be water is an additive. All right, you go ahead and sample it.
Yeah, just
pour it.
Going off what you're saying, I wonder if they still brew, all their breweries are still out of Kentucky, or do they have breweries around the country, you think, do they?
That's a good question.
I wonder how loyal they are.
I'm not sure.
I see they have on the decal there, they have like 7 generations of the Beam family, so I guess they're master distillers again since 1795, so they got like a long tradition, but I wonder if...
That's awesome. I would imagine they are. There are several distillers around the U.S., not just in Kentucky.
Yeah.
If it's been around that long, it has to be.
Right. I mean, tradition's important, I guess, but at the same time, capitalism calls, so...
Right.
But, so full disclosure, I'm not a huge whiskey drinker, although whiskey is probably my favorite type of alcohol on the whole. And I haven't experienced a whole lot of whiskey even so, but I will say Jim Beam is probably my favorite whiskey I've had. I mean, it's I think everybody knows about it. It's probably really widespread. You can get it almost anywhere. But I really like the taste and how it compares to other brands I've had. So just to kind of go off that, I guess we'll give you a live impressions thing here. Now, I've had it before, but...
Yeah, I would second what he said. Whiskey is definitely my favorite, or bourbon whiskey or whiskey is definitely my favorite spirit. I prefer beer over whiskey, but whiskey is definitely in second place. All right, I'll go ahead and give a pour too, and we can show the camera.
Yeah.
All right, not too much.
Yeah, and I also typically, personally, when I drink whiskey, I either drink it, if I drink Jack Daniels or something like that, I'll drink it with Coke, root beer, something like that, or I'll drink it like a highball or something like that, because
Right.
Occasionally, if I'm in the mood, I'll drink just like on the rocks, using ice at home or whatever.
Right. I generally do on the rocks. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Jack and Coke, or whiskey and Coke, that's one of the most popular drinks that people drink, because it kind of cuts the alcohol bitterness with some sweet. Or even Diet Coke, which I would prefer.
Yeah, I use Diet Coke just for less sugar. But I recently tried using root beer, so Barks, I recommend that.
Ooh, Barks is good. The sugar Barks?
I use Diet Barks again because less sugar. But
yeah. I don't think this has high fructose corn syrup in it, like Coke.
Yeah.
I think some beer has high fructose corn.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I'd imagine something like mass-produced beer might.
Corn syrup, but Bud Light doesn't. They put that on their label, like no corn syrup, just water, rice, barley, and malt.
They must be doing it because someone else is using that.
Right, exactly.
Miller, somebody.
They pride themselves. Yeah, Miller does do it.
Oh,
Miller High Life has a very corn flavor, and they kind of pride themselves on, we don't use that junk,
Put it above the competition. Yeah.
How would you describe the smell? It's like alcohol. I'm kind of getting caramel.
Smell.
You get any caramel?
It smells like alcohol, but I don't know if this is the right term, but it's like a woody flavor almost.
Oh.
Just a little bit of wood or something. I don't know what kind of wood it would be.
That's a great observation.
Now that you mentioned the barrel they brewed, I wonder if that's what it is. I don't know what that barrel smells like.
Absolutely. That's a good observation. I never got wood from the aroma, but seeing as how it's aged in charred white oak barrels, that's a good guess, because I'm sure it would have a wood flavor after being aged for 4 years in there.
Yeah.
Maybe like firewood kind of flavor,
Right.
aroma.
Yeah, I remember us we played around with sticks and stuff like all kids do, I guess, and it seemed like that made me think of it. I don't know. We had like sticks and we like, rip trees open and the sap is on your hands or whatever.
That's good.
Something like that, maybe.
Good observation, but I like it.
Want to dig in now?
See, this is why it's good to have a second person. You get all kind of just thoughts thrown in.
Different
Let's go ahead
perspectives.
and, it's got some alcohol legs.
Try to knock it back.
That's what they call that dripping effect that sits on the side of the glass. Alcohol legs. It almost looks like fence posts.
Oh wow! Is it because the alcohol evaporates and leaves something there, or residue?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Does it have it on here? I can't see. It has got some.
Yeah, you got some. We got more.
It's just like a generic.
I guess
cup.
we'll go ahead and try it.
All right, let's go.
Compared to a lot of whiskeys I've had, it's pretty smooth, but it has a little alcohol bite.
Yeah. It's pretty strong. It's smooth at first, but it goes down. It's pretty strong. But I will say it feels it's smoother, I guess, or it goes down easier than some other Crown Royal, which I had recently.
Crown, yeah.
Just comes to mind as one of the most recent ones.
Crown's Canadian.
Which I don't know. For me personally, I feel like it burns a lot needlessly. Crown Royal, but I don't know.
Interesting. I didn't get that with Crown, but I could see where that would get that. They're both the same proof, 80 proof, which is a pretty standard bourbon whiskey. I think Crown Royal is just a whiskey. It's not a bourbon whiskey, as far as I know. I could be wrong, but
maybe that explains it. But
well, I've had Wild Turkey 101, which is 101 proof. That was a kick. This is a little smoother than that.
Right.
It's been a while since I've had Crown Royal, but I recently had Rich and Rare Reserve, which is a Canadian whiskey like Crown Royal, but sort of more of a sub-premium brand than Crown Royal. It's like the blue-collar version of Crown Royal, and Crown Royal would be like the, maybe the more upper-class whiskey. But, you said you didn't care for it, you prefer this.
Yeah, actually our sister, she likes Crown Royal a lot, and that's why, I tasted it, but I don't see it. I don't personally see it. I think this is better for sure.
Right.
And I think it also compares better with something like Jameson. I don't know how there's any diehard fans of Jameson, but I felt Jameson.
I had that. I want to try it though.
I think Jameson is probably just too tasteless or something.
Is it just alcohol maybe?
The taste is too alcohol-y. I don't know if that's a word, but that's how it felt to me compared to Jim Beam. So I prefer this for sure.
Right. Huh. And what's your favorite whiskey? I think you mentioned it.
I think it's Jim Beam, although it's a toss-up between this and Proper 12, which is, I don't know if that'll raise hairs or not, but
Conor McGregor.
Conor McGregor, yeah, his whiskey. I don't know how people feel about celebrity brewed whiskey. Is it just a marketing ploy or whatever? But I actually really like it. I think it's probably one of the best whiskeys in competition with this Jim Beam that I've had for just like on the rocks. I can't say for like mixing with Coke because I haven't really gone into depth trying all that and comparing it, but
right.
Just off the top of my head, I think Proper 12 is one of the best on the rocks whiskeys I've ever had. So
right. I mean, it is probably a marketing ploy, but if you like it and it's good, so what,
Yeah.
Over the years, the price might come down once he retires and, he's not as big of an... Well, I think he already retired. I'm not sure.
He did retire recently.
Is it MMA? Or?
Yeah, he's in the UFC. He retired recently, but I heard that he was going to come back out of retirement for a fight. Sport players do that a lot where they retire, but...
He's only, 29 maybe?
He's young, yeah, I guess.
But for that sport, that's old.
Right.
Yeah, right.
I mean, he's already a millionaire, even apart from the whiskey, the Proper 12 stuff. He made a lot of money in UFC. He does like marketing with sports brands. I don't know if he's with Under Armour or whatever, but yeah, he does.
I think it's Under Armour.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he recently shaved his beard off.
He did. Yeah, he did.
He looks weird, but he looks good.
He has a large head on his body, but he has like a fighter's body. His arms are really long too, so good reach and stuff. For his size.
Pound for pound, he's so strong. I mean, he could probably tear up somebody twice his size.
For sure. Yeah.
Like I'm probably twice his size, but I wouldn't want to fight him.
Right. Scrappy and never die attitude. But.
So yeah, I'm. Based on what you say, I want to try some Proper 12. I think I'd probably like it.
Yeah, he hasn't actually tried it yet, so.
Do you notice?
That'll be a future episode, I guess.
Right. Do you notice any differences in flavor between an American or an Irish whiskey? Is there anything you can point out? I don't know. I'm just curious if you
I think
detected anything.
this one is almost I don't want to say sweet, but compared to the proper 12, the proper 12 feels like a little bit more raw or something. And I can't say the Jim Beam is sweet. There's not really much of a hint of sweetness, but maybe it's the wood flavor that makes it seem more like
not as sweet as this, but sweet.
Right? Yeah, it's not like a syrup taste, but again, maybe it's something to do with the wood. And it's not caramel either, but it's just something a little more like palatable. Like it's that's a little less tasteless than the proper 12. Not to say the proper 12 is tasteless per se, but this just seems like it has a little more something approaching maybe sweetness or flavor, I guess.
Good point. Because I think in the U.S. we do like, I don't want to say like the watered down sweetened version of things, but we kind of do. So maybe you saying the proper 12 was rawer, I think, that doesn't surprise me. Because if you think about beer, all the lightest beers are brewed here, Bud Light, Coors, Budweiser, and the Euro lagers like Stella and Heineken have a sharper flavor. And maybe that kind of coincides with how they like their whiskey. We kind of tone ours down. Like there would never be I wouldn't say never, but there isn't a Southern comfort of Ireland because it would be too mellow for their preferences probably.
Interesting. Yeah,
I think that kind of ties in with what you said.
Yeah, the other day, interesting you say that because our sister actually, she's a big fan of Crown Royal. She was talking about how
she loves it.
She's traveled around Europe a lot and stuff. I assume she tried a lot of different things, but she made the point that most other cultures are actually alcohol drinking is a much bigger thing in many other cultures, especially European ones, than it is in the U.S.
And you live in Seoul,
right?
South Korea.
Yeah, I'm working there right now. Yeah.
Do they drink whiskey there?
I'm
sure they do.
They do drink whiskey. They have Jack Daniels is exported there, but they drink more like rice wine traditionally. That's like their main thing. They have their domestic beer brands as well, but rice wine is like their major alcohol that they drink, the main one.
And I tried that you gave me, and it was interesting.
Uh-huh,
Not my favorite, but it definitely had flavor. It tasted like boiled rice mixed with alcohol.
Yeah, I brought one over as like a souvenir. It was like a rice wine with ginseng or ginger in it, one of the two, maybe both.
Is it ginseng, honey?
Something like that, yeah.
Tea, I think that's in tea or something.
Yeah, we'd have to look at it again, but in any case, so maybe that's one of the reasons that other cultures, European cultures, they want more of a kick in their drink. When they drink, they're drinking with a purpose, to get drunk or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to generalize.
Maybe we're just weenies here. I don't know.
Could be, yeah, it could be. But you also have to consider that the U.S. roots are really strongly Protestant, and Protestant culture with strong Protestant strain typically are more against alcohol.
Very true. Very true.
So, a place like Ireland, for example, has been Catholic for a long time. It has a strong Catholic legacy, and they or it has more compatibility, I guess, traditionally. But the U.S. had a very, the Puritans and whatnot came over, so had a strong brand streak against that, I would say. And we had Prohibition, as recently as 100 years ago. So
yeah, was it the 20s, 30s?
Yeah, it was
right before the Great Depression, maybe.
Yeah, it didn't last long, but they tried it anyway. But yeah, I don't know if that plays into it or what.
Back then, alcohol was like the drugs, the drug wars. Now.
Yeah, well, because it was outlawed, there was a huge profit margin. So gangsters and stuff would bootleg alcohol for huge profit because everybody wants it, but it's illegal. Making it illegal doesn't stop people wanting it.
And a nice little history too about drinking, about alcohol.
But Jim Beam obviously predates that, so it's survived a whole lot through the years.
1795. That's what 200. I think I read on the website 225 years ago.
Wow.
Because 200 years ago would be 1820. So 1800 220 minus 1795. So yeah, 225 years old. It predates the Revolutionary War, obviously the Civil War, Prohibition. So this is a kind of a historic staple of Kentucky and certainly of American bourbon whiskeys. Anything else you want to add? Any flavor notes?
Well, let me get another little dose of it here and see if there's anything else I want to say.
I guess we'll describe the flavor and then kind of wrap it up. I'm gonna get a little more. Definitely, I get some caramel on the nose, but other than that, it's just kind of a caramel and, like he said, maybe some wood and really alcohol on the nose.
And again, just to reiterate, it's really smooth in your mouth. It doesn't really.
For a bourbon, yes. Usually bourbon whiskeys are a little more robust than just regular whiskey.
Oh,
Because
really?
again, the
Huh.
additives would sweeten it. But
Huh.
if there are none, you'd think it would be more robust. But it's really drinkable
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
whiskey.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of burn going down. I guess that's every whiskey, but
A little water.
yeah. But it's really smooth in the mouth. It's got a really approachable taste, I guess you'd say.
I would say that.
Even more so than like Irish whiskey, something like Jameson, which I won't stop ranting about it.
I'm going to have to try Jameson. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of getting the same flavor notes. Just, I mean, Jim Beam, I'm sure you've heard of it. If you have it in your area, which I'm sure you do, it's all over the world. It's available year-round, out of Kentucky, but probably not distilled in just Kentucky. It's all over. So get it, try it. It's enjoyable. I guess we need to rate it. What would you rate it out of 100? Or like a
100.
0 to 10,
0
whatever
to
you
10.
want to do. I'd give it like a 94 out of 100
Out of 100,
for whiskey and preference.
I'd say 90 plus. Probably about the same as you. Yeah, low to mid 90s.
It seems like I rate a lot of things around 94.
Like,
I
you
won't-
impress me? Maybe you proved your point about.
Well, it's like I could go higher than that, but I'm like, I know that there's something out there that I haven't tried yet, which
Right.
will knock this out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
But again, would you want to lowball something that you really enjoy in the moment just for
Right.
something you may try in the future? But
Right.
94 is fair.
Right, and again, it's one of the best whiskeys in contention for first place for the best whiskey I've ever had for multi-purposes, but definitely something you don't want to miss,
Alright.
I would say.
So we give it an A out of 100, A, solid A. Jim Beam, Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. Cheers, and thank you for watching.